Welcome back, everybody. Let's take a break. Take a break with Stephen Shamus.
Good to see you, my friend. How's it going today?
Wonderful every day. Every single day. I'm great. I'm waiting for the day that you call and I'm not doing well. That's going to be the odd one.
By the way, we have a mishmash of stuff that's like opposite ends today, right?
It's evil and like the most nicest. It's like very dark and then very bright. It is amazing.
All right. So what do we got, Alex?
We're going to talk a little Lobo.
Time to up the ante, I'm thinking. Finally, I've been trying to get in touch with you all day.
Who are you?
Oh, I'm sorry. My card.
Which you've never really discussed.
It's hard to believe, right?
I know. There's so many things out there. Then we're gonna go on the evil side with Lobo. Then we're gonna come back to the light with the Care Bears.
Care Bears countdown. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Who's that coming from somewhere up in the sky? Moving fast and bright as a firefly.
Some of my favorite. We're gonna go back to the evil side with Typhoid Mary, and then ping pong back to the light with Winnie the Pooh.
Gotta get up, I gotta get going. I'm gonna see a friend of mine. He's round and he's fuzzy, I love him because he's just Pooh Bear, Winnie the Pooh Bear, looking for fun.
A really back and forth today.
Yeah, it some of this stuff is either in the news or nostalgic. We keep talking about nostalgic stuff, and we're seeing some record prices for some of this nostalgic stuff. Yeah, it is pretty interesting. Okay, so what are we starting off with today?
The main man. Let's talk a little Lobo.
It's hard to believe after all these episodes we have not discussed Lobo.
I know,
but I think what happened was there was a lot of speculation that Jason Momoa was going to transition from Aquaman to Lobo. So why don't you give a little bit of the backstory on Lobo? And this character is very, very popular. It's hard to believe. I think he's been on the TV show, right? One of the TV shows.
Yeah, he was on Krypton, the short-lived Superman past TV show. But Lobo is a character that has been around since the 80s. He was first in Omega Man, where he really wasn't a big deal, and then his own books skyrocketed him. And the whole point of Lobo was he was a caricature of like Punisher and Wolverine for the Marvel side. There was no way he was supposed to take off and become a big popular character, but he did. He's an intergalactic bounty hunter. He's really strong. He can go toe-to-toe to Superman. He can heal. He loves to drink, and I think him and Simon Beasley are the same person. I think when Simon Beasley was drawing the character, I think he took a lot of his personality from him. But a character's been around forever. I mean, he's been in Superman the Animated Series, and I think as a movie franchise, when you look at like a Deadpool, this is a good one for DC, and I think James Gunn probably knows that and is going to move towards that.
It's interesting how this character has endured also. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like
years.
You're talking about a character from 1983 and it's endured, right? Through the ups and downs and the cycles and everything. The character's always remained strong. This is a book that people always wanted, always bought, but you've definitely seen renewed interest lately. Okay, so Omega Man number 3, June of 1983. There's actually 2,646 9/8s, 169 signature series 9/8s. It's a $350 to $400 book. First appearance of Lobo, Roger Silver story, Keith Giffen and Mike DiCarlo cover and artwork. Then there's the 1990 Lobo number 1. That's the very famous Lobo headshot. November of 1990. There's 508 9.8s. There's 79 signature series 9.8s. There's actually one 9.9. That's about $150 book. That's the Legion appearance, Keith Giffen and Alan Grant story with Simon Biz cover and art, and that's Biz and Geffen are really known for this character.
Yeah, these are the big guys.
Right. Then the next big one is the Lobo Paramilitary Christmas Special number 1 from January of 1991. There were 27 9.8s. That's about a $225 book. Keith Giffen and Alan Grant story, Simon Bisley cover and art. Then Lobo's back from May of 1992. My brother actually owned the original cover art. It was very interesting because they did Lobo's back, and as a sort of a play on the cover, they did a picture of Lobo's back. It was very very cleverly done. There are 96 9.8s. There's one 9.9. It's about $100 book. Very famous Bisley cover on that one. It was manufactured with a triple cover. Each cover is by Simon Bisley, Keith Giffen, and Alan Grant Story. Simon Bisley cover and art. Okay. Then there's the next Lobo series from 1993, December of 93, 69.8s. That's about $100 book. That's when they're doing all the embossed foils and everything like that. John Dell Valsamix and John Dell cover and art. Then there's the Lobo's Big Babe Spring Break Specials. Try saying that 5 times.
Yeah, exactly.
From spring of 95. Books. Yeah. 10 9.8s. That's about a $250 book. Alan Grant Story. Jim Ballant cover and art. Jim Ballant, I think, was more known for Catwoman, right?
Yeah. Right? Yeah. Jim Ballant. Yep. And Tarot. Tales of the Black Witch Rose.
Right. Then there's Justice League of America #1 from April of 2017. There's a Francesco Mattina variant cover. It's a great Lobo #1 homage. Yeah. Limited to 600 copies, 39 9.8s. Those are $80, $10 raw. Then there's the sketch variant cover, 30 9.8s. It's about an $80 book, $10 raw. And then there's the Virgin variant, very, very difficult to find. There's 108 9.8s, about $100, but $50 raw. That one's a tough one. And then the last one that's very, very popular is Green Lantern #55, the 1 in 25 Lobo ring variant cover, August of 2010, 47 9.8s, 1 9.9. That's almost a $700 book. I realize I went out of order chronologically, but
it doesn't. People understand.
Yeah, that cover is very, very popular. The Lobo ring variant cover, almost $700 now.
Jeez, that is absolutely bananas for a 2010 book. That's nothing.
Yeah. All right, Alex. What is next? This one's going to make you laugh.
The Care Bears. One of my favorites. One of my favorites.
Why are these books selling for so much money, Alex?
I mean, this is nostalgia right to the gut. Plus, I mean, again, I'll say it until I'm blue in the face, which is gonna take a lot because I'm very red in the face. But kids books. These are kids books, kids comic books. Adults were not buying Care Bears comic books. These were actually kids. These are late Bronze Age books. And like the collector mentality at that time was not kids books at all. Like you were buying Spider-Mans and Punisher and X-Men and Batman comics, but not these kids books. And so like they get destroyed, if the same issue, 1985 issue of Amazing Spider-Man, there's going to be way more of these in pristine shape than kids books because they're just getting beat up all the time. Care Bears is one of my favorite like success stories because they were invented by a greeting card company and then was sold as toys and cartoons and movies and everything. So they weren't even originally supposed to be like this phenomenon. They were up for greeting cards and they just got picked up and moved along. So it's a fun one. It's very like if you were an 80s baby, you definitely know what a Care Bear is, especially the movies. Right. And they're still making toys. It's still.
Oh, do they? Yeah, I was going to ask you. Do they still make Care Bears today?
Yeah, it's a staying factor. They've been redesigned a little bit, so they're a little bit more cutesy. There was another cartoon that came out, but no, these are something like a GI Joe or a Transformers. That's a continuous thing, and it's a boy and girl toy. So there is no in between.
So Care Bears #1, November of 1985 from Marvel, 8 9.8s. It's about a $700 book now. First appearance of Care Bears in comics based on the greeting card characters, Howard Post story, cover, and art. There is a very, very rare Canadian version as well.
Yeah.
Oof. All right. Alex's pick of the week. What do you got, Alex?
We've been talking a lot of nostalgia stuff. So, I am a, close to 40-year-old man, which means that I grew up in the late 80s, early 90s. That was my childhood. And, for a long time, 90s stuff really wasn't something that was worth a lot of money. That's specifically what I looked at when I went to flea markets was toys from the 90s. Now it's toys from the early 2000s because it's moved. And I'm just kind of poking around at some like old properties and seeing like things that are, the big boom, the cartoon boom, the animated series boom of the 90s, where it was like everything. 80s had the He-Man and GI Joe, but there was only a handful of channels. by the 1990s, there was tons. Cable was huge. USA Network was doing their own stuff. UPN was doing their own stuff. Everybody had toys. It reminded me of this toys called King Arthur and the Knights of Justice. It was a
that sounds familiar. Why does that sound familiar to me?
It was an animated series that came out in 1990, like towards the end of middle of 1990s, like 92, 93.
Sounds so familiar. Okay.
Right. Yeah, I mean, because there were so many oddball 90s cartoons coming out that time, they were just pumping them out. And they made a bunch of toys. And this is the premise of this was it was the King Arthur times, and all of the Knights of the Round Table get trapped. So Merlin brings in people from the future to the past to help, like, to take over the Knights of the Round Table to help them stop evil. And they bring like a football team, and like the football players become the Knights of the Round Table. And it was kind of neat. There was like there was cool, like their armor, like the chest, the armor, whatever weapon it was, it would come out of the chest and they could use it. They had shields that had animals, and they could the animals would come through the shields. Very simple thing, but they had toys, and the toys were not great at all. But you're talking now, some of these toys on card are going for like $200, $100 here, $80 here, and these were toys that you would find in a KB Toys, like 3 for $10, and nobody was buying
KB Toys.
Yeah, my favorite is when I find
said?
Yeah, my favorite's when I find toys from KB and they still have the 3 for $10 sticker on them.
KB is out of business.
10
years,
at least by 2000. At least 2000.
Oh, it's 20 years. Yeah.
They've been gone for a long time. There's no toy stores. They're gone. Targets and Walmarts, put them out of business essentially. Online, Amazon, stuff like that. So it's funny when we always talk about nostalgia. I think it's hard to not talk about, like, that's exactly why things are worth money. People are just like, oh, I remember that. I want that. I want to go back and buy it. So I love
KB Toys. They used to have those like discount bins.
Yeah.
Buy like the cheap,
Yeah. And now those things are worth money. If only.
All right. What do we got next, Alex?
We're going to go back to the dark side. We're going to talk a little Typhoid Mary.
Yeah. Why is this picking up, Alex? What's going on with Typhoid Mary?
I don't know. She's been in a couple things. I mean, she was currently in the Daredevil comic book. So I don't know if it's just renewed interest.
Oh, I think I know what it is. I think there is speculation that she's going to be in the new Daredevil show.
Yes, the Born Again.
That's what it is.
Yep.
Right.
We don't really know what that show's going to be about. We don't know if it's going to be a remake. We don't know if it's going to be a continuation. We saw him in his yellow costume on She-Hulk, so we don't know if it's maybe going to be a prequel. I don't think people are quite sure what we're going to get out of it, but Typhoid Mary is a huge villain in the Daredevil mythos. She's still around. She was, as someone who's, created not so long ago in the late 80s, 90s. She's still around, and she was in the Elektra movie. She was in Iron Fist. She was in the second season of Iron Fist, so we might see her again. Right. I mean, not a big character, she would be in Daredevil, but this is a person that has, it's a mutant. She's got multiple personality disorder. She's telekinesis. She can set things on fire. She can move stuff with her mind. Just a fun character. And then, as seeing all the Daredevil stuff coming through the Marvel universe, you kind of have to assume that you're going to see Typhoid Mary. Very easy character to do, no like special makeups or anything like that.
Right. Okay, good. So Typhoid Mary, Daredevil, number 254, May of 1988, 136 9.8. It's about a $400 book today. Origin and first appearance of Typhoid Mary, Mary Alice Walker, Kingpin appearance, Ann Nocenti story, John Romita Jr. and Al Williamson cover and art. All right. What are we closing with today? This is a fun one, Alex.
Speaking of bears, we're going to talk a little Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, interesting that some of these vintage books, those vintage I'm starting to see those Whitman books. We started talking about Whitman and Gold Key lately, right? We seem to be talking about it more and more. Winnie the Pooh, sort of iconic. I mean, you had that whole Ewan McGregor thing a few years ago. Yep. I remember he did the panel for us. Yeah, Christopher Robin. So I guess it's just one of those lifelong, timeless things, Alex. I mean, we're seeing more of this with the Gold Key and Whitmans. Yeah. This is definitely like, A. Malign created this character in poems, and then, popular, but not as popular until Disney came along and threw some money at it, and is now one of like their key franchises. I mean, Disney and Winnie the Pooh are more people know about
Winnie the Pooh through Disney than they do about the poems and the books at all.
For sure, for sure.
And this is something that is just like the staying power of Winnie the Pooh is going to be around for a very long time. And it's a Disney comic. I mean, the comics that we talk about, the Gold Key stuff, those are Disney comics. It's not something else. It wasn't a TV show. It wasn't anything like the books. It is Disney comics, and those things are hard to find, especially number ones.
Yeah. Okay, great. So it's Winnie the Pooh #1, January of 1977. It's Gold Key, 11.9.8. It's about a 750 plus. They're actually very, very hard to find.
Yeah.
And they're moving up. And we're starting to see this with Gold Keys and Whitman's, folks. Yeah. So I would go out there and see if you can find some nice high grades of them.
Cartoon books, yep. And then what's next is the Charltons. That's the next one.
Maybe. All right. Well, thank you for joining us today. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the field below. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you all next week. Same bad time.
Same bad channel.